On this edition of Kick the Concrete, we speak with Oakland and Los Angeles-based rapper, artist, entrepreneur, and community leader Bryce Savoy. His Neighborhood Diamonds project is more than an album, more than a music video. It's a community of people who are diamonds in the rough who want to shine and help others do the same. We sat down with Bryce at a neighborhood park where he talked about how basketball, music, and going away to college helped form him into the man he is today. What is the overall meaning of Neighborhood Diamonds?
The overall meaning of Neighborhood Diamonds really is just rooted in the idea of letting your light shine for the world to see, but more importantly, representing those who, consider themselves diamonds in the rough, who feel like they may be, overlooked for whatever reason, but notwithstanding, they're still able to just do everything that they're supposed to be doing to further whatever dreams and goals and missions that they have, despite if they get the recognition or not. Really.
Yeah. And was there a specific time that you felt overlooked or underappreciated that kind of motivated you to do this?
I would kind of say probably really my whole life in a sense, and maybe some of that obviously has to do with myself, because I know for a good period of my life, in certain areas, depending on depending on who you ask and what it is that I'm doing, I could somebody that was reserved, shy or humble, or be confident. Like, I looked at basketball, that was like a pivotal time where I kind of really had to find my way. I grew up as a young kid being the best on the team, and then you get to middle school, and you get to high school, and you realize everybody is at a certain level. Maybe only that separates people is the work and the confidence. And I came from I played in the high school team where our coach, like, looking back, I think he was he was well intentioned, but he really broke some of our spirits and just made us not really want to play like that. So always second guessing, always wondering if I'd make a play or one wrong play, I'm gonna get subbed out. Playing on the string, it's just not a way to play. And so I say that to say because of that, I feel like my high school trajectory in basketball didn't go the way I would have envisioned it to. And it wasn't until I started doing workouts outside of high school, on my high school team, playing AAU, and just being in positions where the coaches and the staff and the my teammates really gave me the ability to just play basketball and be myself and have fun. I think that was a turning point in my life, and that's kind of been the story of my life, where I may have these God-given talents for whatever reason, don't fully utilize them, realize that I can utilize them, realize that I'm supposed to utilize them, and then you see me shine, for lack of a better word, for the world to see. And so that's kind of how I looked at my life, just learning, and as I learn and apply, God provides me opportunities to excel and shine. So really just all throughout my whole life, it's kind of been, I would say, for myself, the story of my life.
And was basketball that first time too that you were like, oh, I'm shining, like I'm living in my purpose, like?
Yeah, I would say that. Once I started, because I learned, you really get confidence by the work that you put in whatever you're doing, and then having opportunities time and time again to show and prove. And so once I started really training and working hard, and then going into situations, whether it's practice, whether it's a game, whether it's playing pickup, where I'm able to kind of excel, and then but amongst people who I consider my peers and who are diamonds in their own right, and be able to compete with them, that really just gave me the confidence to say, yeah, I could really do this if I put the work in. So basketball is probably the first example, if I look back on my life, the first time that I kind of realized that side of myself. Because if you look at, like I said, if you look throughout my life, and depending on who you ask, you always see like spurts of that. You'll see glimpses of that in games and just playing basketball where they were like, oh yeah, Bryce, he got it. And then sometimes you won't see that because of maybe like the lack of self-confidence or just overthinking or whatever it could be. So I didn't show that consistently, but I know I had that in me. So that's the frustrating part too, because when you by yourself, you're like, I know I could compete. I know I could play to the level of these people that everybody may be talking about or looking at, or whatever it may have you. And so that's kind of where I kind of took a lot of my motivation and I think inspiration for creating this is really started in playing basketball. That was such a pivotal part of my life for so much of my life, really.
Yeah, and how was that able to translate into music then? That same hustle and competitiveness?
Yeah, so it was always there, but the thing was like, because music, I've been doing that for 2 decades now, and so that was a part of it as well, where it was like, here's myself as a person, an artist. I know that I can rap, right? Not everybody can say that they can rap, like really know how to create music in that form. I knew I could do that at a young age, but then it was just like life and school and playing basketball. I was just focused on that side of it, and I think there was a point in my life again where that same kind of reoccurring theme came up in I want to say 2010 when my freshman year at Howard. And that was also the year that I dropped my first mixtape. It was called Now or Never, and that was really like just the mentality that I had at that point. Like just I have to, like how will I ever know if I can really do this, if I can really pursue this, if I never try. And I think that was the time where I was going into a new environment. We're going to college, going thousands of miles away from home, where I didn't have really any family, and nobody knew me. And I had to, stake my claim and make a name for myself. So even then, you get into those environments, and it was people freshman year out the gate doing music at a high level at that time, like professionally. And I didn't, I hear me coming from Oakland. I knew how to, create music, but I didn't have the business savvy or professionalism that they may have had at that time. And so it took me a while to even in that environment to get comfortable and be confident in my abilities. And again, it goes back to what I was saying with basketball, where I know I had these gifts. Then I start actually putting the work in. Then I actually start putting the work into play, into action. And then I start seeing people start gravitating towards it, and that gives me the confidence to do it, over and over and over again. So that was kind of like if you look at it, that was the second time that neighborhood diamond theme kind of came back to the forefront. But yet and still, like I've always been like just a humble person, and it's crazy because like as I gotten older, that's something I think about like a lot. Like what does humble mean, right? Because we always hear of humility or be humble, but then you also hear the side of it where people is like, damn, when you humble, nobody listens, nobody cares,
pays attention.
Nobody pays attention, right? So it's like I think I still kind of like struggle with what is the true definition of humility. I talked to my therapist a couple months back, and I think he said humility is realizing that nothing you do is on your own merit. You give God the full credit for everything. So that's kind of like the mentality or like just the thought of humility for me at this moment. But I think a lot of times before that I looked at humble as meaning that you be silent, that you just stay fit in, or you don't stand out, or you're not too loud, or you're not all those different things, and I don't think that's the right way to approach it. So I'm just trying to be like I have to say like humble and humility is always a part of me, but I think the difference is now I have the confidence and the track record and years and years of putting in work to stand on, to hang my hat on at the end of the day.
Yeah, I know I struggle with that too, of like, oh, I have to be humble, so I have to like just sit in the background. But like, no, like humility is living in those God-given gifts and like giving him the credit.
Right.
And yeah, it's a process. So
it definitely took a while to get to this point, but now at this point I've experienced so much, and achieved or accomplished everything really thus far that if I really look back at what I asked God for, I pretty much, accomplished that. So that lets me know that I'm doing, what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm on the right path, and it's like I just have to just keep going, keep persevering. Really,
Yeah.
that's kind of how I look at everything now.
That's so good to have that like affirmation and to keep going.
Yeah. So that's what keeps me going on.
Yeah.
Is that just knowing that, like that faith, that belief that if I continue to just learn, serve, execute, that one day I'll be able to look back, or one day I'll be able to say that this was all worth it. Everything I asked for, God has given to me. So that's kind of what I think about every day, and that's again goes back to just the whole ideal of Neighborhood Diamond. Like, it's a community of people that worldwide are doing the work to just get to where they're trying to go, and they're not looking for any handouts, any shortcuts, recognition. I feel like everybody wants recognition.
Sure, yeah.
But then at the same time, not everybody does it for recognition. So those are the people that I look to and highlight, and especially obviously good people, good intention, and just have good hearts in general. So that's kind of like what I base everything on now.
Yeah, because even you were saying with that first mixtape, like, you were encouraged by people being gravitated toward it, and, like, Neighborhood Diamonds is so much about community. Like, why is it important to have that community and not just be out hustling on your own, or...
Doing things on your own is overrated. Because I think that, like, if I think about it now, like, the whole thought process of doing something on your own is selfish. And it's egotistical in a sense, because you essentially, rely on yourself only to do everything. And granted, don't get me wrong, like, there's certain things that you can do on your own, but I think whatever you're doing, it's important to build a community, because people just want to be involved in something. So if you can give people something to be involved in, something that aligns with the ideas that they, pride themselves on, I think that you always going to have a much bigger, just a much bigger turnout doing it that way. So that's why, like, and I look at a lot of the people that I look up to, not even just in music and sports and business and whatever industry you can think of, they found a way to build a community of people who believe in what they believe in. You wearing a certain merch item, you wear that merch because you may believe in a certain idea that person who's selling that merch is that represents, rather. So that's kind of like how I think about stuff on like just a scientific level, psychology level, psychology in terms of like, okay, what am I going to do that's going to make people buy in and support? It don't always have to be financially, but just overall believe in something, and for them to believe in something that I'm doing, they can take that same belief and believe in themselves and create whatever. Because that's the thing, right? We all have dreams. Everybody on this earth. When you, at some point, maybe even till, I'm sure till you die, no matter how your life goes, we all have. I think that's one thing that God gives us all is dreams. But the only thing that separates us as time and life hits you is if you believe that you can really achieve that dream. So my whole thing is continuing to make sure that I empower and I inspire and I uplift people in a way that whatever dreams they can have, they believe they can actually make it come true. This is me, what I represent. Okay, Bryce is a regular, everyday. I'm not doing anything extraordinary. Just that's unattainable. It's just that belief. That's it. So that's kind of what I want to. That's what I'm attempting to do. That's what I am doing. and building community. That's why I think the community is so important to people. People want to, feel included, but they also want to feel like they matter. We grew up in society where that's not always the case for a lot of people.
Yeah, and even like a diamond like is the ultimate value. You know what I mean? So kind of why did you choose diamond as like your logo? Or
yeah, that's a great question. Like, it started probably like in 2015, so 6 years ago. And it's crazy. You know how like it's just certain things in life that I can't always fully like go back and life happens so fast. I forget how things start, like Genesis stuff. I just remember like using that as an emoji, like looking at emojis and like I'm thinking of shine. When I think of somebody shining, I think of a diamond. And so that's where it like before I even had this whole idea or concept for neighborhood diamonds, it was just literally just an emoji. And you continue to put it consistently. So like now at some point, if even if you're not like tuned into what I'm doing, subconsciously you see that, and it seeps into your psyche. So that was like intentional. But now fast forward, it just makes so much sense because you think about how diamonds are created, pressure and the heat, and that whole process is parallel to life, because I feel like in life everybody has pressure, whether that it was put on you or something you picked up, you have that. And so my whole thing is like, okay, no matter what goes on in life, no matter what obstacles, no matter what challenges are thrown my way, I'm going to shine and rise above that and let the pressure really make me into a diamond, into who I am, as opposed to let it break me or cause me to stop. That's what the devil wants, and that's not happening. So I think that shit just made sense. It just all came full circle. The more that I did it, the more that I put things out that kind of circles back to that whole narrative. So the diamond is everything.
Yeah, that's cool. It came like full circle, or like it grew.
Yeah,
as you.
That's how it always does for me. That's how like my life is. Like I just at some point in life, and depending on what like a certain moment, subconsciously I just make a decision like this is what I'm gonna do. And then once I make a decision, I
commit to it
and execute and do all of the actions that come with committing to it. And then I feel like God, I look back and then it's like, oh, this shit just makes sense. Everything just makes sense. Like the world just kind of moves, shapes to my liking. It all kind of like just comes full circle. So that's really kind of like been the story of my life. I just like you watch people and you kind of just observe. I've always been observant, so that helps a lot. And see what people gravitate towards. Shit, why not? If it's not broke, why not? Why try to fix it? Or why change it rather? So
why try to force something?
Yeah, and I feel like I did that before. Like before, we started TBN, the organization. I just felt like as an artist, like again, like I've always done music. Music is making music was nothing that ever really came hard, that side of it, creating. But it was always like, what am I doing this for? Like I'm
having
just rapping.
A purpose.
You gotta have a purpose. And so once we created TBN, the music started to make sense. Life started to make sense. This is just another extension of that, from that decision that I made years ago to create something bigger than myself. So this is just a branch off that tree.
Yeah. Was there any like time that you were frustrated, like not having that purpose, or like just or were you kind of just doing it just to do it, or what was maybe that process like of?
In terms of like creating music in a sense. Yeah,
like. What was your why before you knew why, maybe? Or what was the difficulty of not having a why?
I think the difficulty of okay, that's a great question. Difficulty of not having a why is because if you don't have a purpose of doing something, you're just doing anything. And so you're just doing stuff just to, just do shit and just stick. You just throwing shit on the wall, which is cool, but you have no real direction as to why you're doing it. And so and furthermore, once you know what you want to do or what you're trying to do, then you know what you can't do or what's not for you. So I think that before I found my purpose, it wasn't like I was out there just doing anything, but I think I was just like not clear in terms of what I like my direction and what am I trying to do? Like what am I trying to like? What's the overall outcome with the music? And so I think once I found that, that's where you get back into like branding and visuals and just the whole overall package of an artist of Bryce Savoy as a human, really. Everything just makes sense. Like you could do stuff way more freely because like if it's not for me, then I'm not doing it. If it doesn't align, if I can't say why, if I don't have a real why behind why I'm doing it, then it's not getting done. And shit, really, to that point, like really, I think a pivotal point in my life that changed in my life and made all this shit make sense was in 2015. Before we started CBN, my father actually recommended a book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And shit, I read that book. That shit just changed my life because I mean, there's so much, unpacking the book, but the main thing he was just saying is that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So once you figure out your why, everything else will work itself out. So I just started really just brainstorming, like, what's my why? And how do I do it? And what is the result of my why? So once I, figure that out, you always fine tuning, as life happens, you always alter it and improve on it. But once I kind of found that, just like, okay, if I know my why, these are the things that I'm going to do in order to manifest my why. And if it's not that, if it doesn't align with those things, then I'm not doing it. So it just made shit just way more easier. Simplified my life, simplified my process, simplified everything for me. And just kind of allowed me to be myself. I feel like when I was before, finding all these things out, I was almost like trying to build a persona around myself, and that's just what hip hop and rap is built on. People building personas as a way to kind of protect, who they are to the core. And I just feel like shit. I want to just be myself in anything that I do, and I feel like I have to change out of those worlds. I can just be myself. So that's what it really allowed me to do. And creating TV and reading that book, moving to LA. Coming back home after graduating undergrad and being able to recenter myself, these were all of the things that helped, because there was a period, I know I'm rambling, but it's powerful that you asked that, because I remember a time, like, and I never really had writer's block, really. I never really, I don't think that's never really been an issue for me, but there was really a time when I graduated from Howard. After graduating, I went to a Spanish immersion program for about 7 weeks in Vermont, and then I came back home. There was a period of just not knowing, like, what's next, like, what am I, like, okay, I graduated, I did that, now what, like, I didn't know, and I just remember, like, I don't know exactly how long, but it felt like a long time where I didn't even know what, like, I would hear a beat and, like, try to rap, I don't even know I didn't even know what to say, like, it was just, like, really, like, I didn't know, almost like I forgot how to rap type shit, and so, once I started, like, and that may have been, like, as soon as I got back, it took some time, and then one of my friends of mine, he had happened to, get killed by the police around that same time, so I'm coming back to that, so it's like you experience this highs away from home, and you come back home, the same shit's happening, so I think that was just all that mentally was just frustrating for me, as I started to, like, just be around people who know me, who really know who I am, my family, my loved ones. Slowly but surely, I started to find that energy or inspiration to create, and that put me on a path to do everything else that I just spoke about. So that's really kind of it really been my whole perspective on things. It just allowed me to kind of like get to where I am now in all areas of my life. It just from those experiences, from those times where I had to, so that doing that or having that mentality translated to me for the first time. Like, I just said the most logical thing was like, I don't know where I'm going, I don't know what I'm doing. Let me go to God. I started the first time reading the Bible ever, reading all of these stories in the Bible that I never have read before, never knew about, never even heard about. And it's eye-opening because it's so parallel to my life at that moment. And I started going to Bible study, going to church. Like, so it was just being that curiosity of finding God helped me find myself and find my purpose and find the direction of my life. So I would say 2015, that was a pivotal, that was a turning point in my life. Turning point in my life, because that's what everything you see today spawned from that time back home for those 2 years before I moved out here to LA.
Yeah, that's amazing. How you were able to find yourself in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a great time. Looking back on it, because it's like whole thing you start off uncertain, and then you as you just start going out and doing stuff and just putting yourself out there, you kind of notice the small, subtle signs that you're on the right track. And so that's kind of how it happened to me. I just started reading more, outside of just the Bible, just reading in general. Fell in love with the passion of reading again. So reading books, just doing a lot of the things that I know are right. I knew it. I felt in my heart this is the right thing to do at those moments. And that just got me to each and every step. So that was everything for me.
Yeah, that's so good. I know last time I asked about your uncle and Tone's legacies, and just about how it's important to you to carry those. Just maybe why is that important part of what you do?
Yeah, I think those both carry on both of those legacies is so important to me because they played such a pivotal parts of my life. My uncle, outside of everything, outside of all the things that he did, he introduced me to music. He introduced me to rap, hip hop, everything. Just that introduction alone, changed my life. So just for that very reason alone, it's important that I uphold his legacy. And also as my uncle, he's really my uncle who's enjoyed his life at the party, spent so much time with him just throughout my life as a kid, growing up, and all of those different things. So it's really important for me on that side of it because I know he if it wasn't for him, I would not be doing music. I can 100% say that. Just in terms of him having that legacy of having that history and being a staple in the Bay Area's rap scene, what that did for us in general. We come from some good stock, in a sense. And so for him, that's why it's important, for me to really, really uphold his legacy in everything that I do. And I know that if he was here right now, he would be, he was already proud of me aside from just the music stuff or just what I was accomplishing in life that I was living, the type of kid I was. But I think musically, specifically, he would be so proud because he was one of those people that always was rooting for me and always wanted to, or push me to be better. So that's for that. That kind of is why it's so important. And then in terms of my cousin, he just really gave me the heart, just the grit, the passion. That's something that he instilled in me because I think at certain times, pivotal time in my life when I was coming into that teenager phase in my life of just trying to figure out where I belong, where I stand. He was there, and granted, some of this a good portion of the stuff it was misguided in terms of just what I learned, but that's who made me who I am today because I've had both best of both of those worlds to see both sides of just how you have to be able to navigate and operate in a place like Oakland where it is dangerous and you got to make sure that you carry yourself a certain way in order to just survive for real. So I think he gave me if I look back on it, out of all the bad times, or not the angry times that I may have been angry at him just in terms of what he was kind of doing with his life, he gave me so much more. He gave me just my confidence, my swag, all of that stuff. And you couple that with the fact that I'm thinking about that now. My father was always present, but when I turned 11, that's when he moved to Los Angeles, like, permanently. He's been here ever since. So just to have him as an older cousin, big slash, we born as cousins, but we were raised as brothers. So we lived together, and we went to school together, and had all of those things. So just looking up to him growing up until I got to obviously a certain age where I had my own mind and was able to make decisions on my own. He helped shape and create who I am today. So for that reason, that's why it's important to uphold his legacy too. Those are the two male figures in my life who played pivotal points in my life and got me to where I am today, one way or another. So that's why again, he's somebody that I'll always think about and cherish and do everything that I can. Really is I'm upholding the legacy by doing what I'm doing and continuing to do what I'm doing. That's really the best way to put it. So everything I do, somewhere, if you break it down scientifically or subconsciously, it's inspired and motivated by them, their legacy. So,
yeah, they're like continuing through you, and
they're living through me. They're living through my siblings, my family, everybody else that's still alive. But that's what I take from it. Like the moments where I may not feel like doing something. The moments where I may feel like never really feel like giving up, but questioning like, is this really worth it? I can look back at them and hear them, see them, and my memories and my thoughts to continue to keep me pushing and make that extra take that extra step and do what I need to do. So I think between them two, that's like a very, very important parts of my life. Certain parts of my life, more so than others, but less.
Yeah, we're still here for a reason, so we have to keep.
No, for real. It's crazy. Like when I was telling you about my dreams, like I'll have dreams in my dreams, like really just like normal, like how we would ever like hanging out, or just a part of it. Almost as they, they're here. So that lets me know they never went anywhere, although their physical form have left them, or they left this earth physically. They're still here. So I find like peace and solace in that as well. So kind of see them in my dreams.
Thanks so much, Bryce, for telling your story with us. Follow Bryce Savoy on all social media platforms at Bryce Savoy 510. Stream Neighborhood Diamonds on all platforms now. Stay tuned to Kick the Concrete for more real stories by real people.